Hi everyone, my name's Saltychess. I'm a chess player and also a coach. I'm rated approximately 2000 on Chess, and today I'm here to talk to you about something really exciting. Sacrifices. Uh, in particular, exchange sacrifices. Now, when you think of sacrifices in real life, you're most likely thinking about, either religious sacrifices like a goat or maybe children, or maybe you're thinking of like relationship sacrifices, like, giving up something that you like doing to make the other person happy. However, the idea and the definition of sacrifice that I really want to go with today depends on something very intrinsic to chess itself. Now, we describe sacrifices as an act of giving up something valued for the sake of something else regarded as more important or worthy. And of course, a good quote is like, we must all be prepared to make sacrifices. In chess, this is absolutely true, but to understand that, first we have to take a look at something very simplistic: material value. Now, when you first started playing chess, you were most likely taught that a pawn is worth 1, right? Knights and bishops are worth about 3, rooks are worth about 5, and queens in most scenarios are worth around 9. However, I'm here today to change your idea about that. Sometimes these minor pieces, right, these knights and these bishops, can be worth more than their major counterparts, the rooks and the queens. Okay, so you might be wondering, well, okay, show me. I'm glad to do that. So before we get into some examples, let's just take a look at a very basic primer, right? Here you can see that this rook can capture either this bishop or this knight, which, as I told you, are worth less than the rook in most scenarios. However, sometimes this kind of exchange sacrifice can be good, because it might give you exactly what you need to win the game. This can be a variety of things, and I hope that the examples that I show you today will give you some idea of why they might get played. The first game, and the first example that we're going to be taking a look at, is from a game between Garry Kasparov and Mikhail Gurevich. Garry Kasparov, obviously, a renowned world champion, quite possibly one of the most influential chess players alive, if not, and one of the most influential chess players that have ever existed. And of course, a very strong grandmaster and world champion and living legend, etc. Absolutely, a goat. So, in this position, he'd had played the move c3, and his opponent played the move f5. His opponent, Mikhail Gurevich, is also a very strong grandmaster. f5 obviously attacks our knight, so let's run away. c5, attacking the center. Okay, we'll capture. This knight is, active now, which we don't like, but no really other option. And now, you'll notice that our knight is a bit low on squares, right? We can't really hop to either of these squares because, unfortunately, our opponent controls them. So Kasparov went back, knight to f1. He's getting ready to come out to e3 and attack this bishop. Okay. Furthermore, he's also opening up this rook to pin the bishop against the queen, which now means that this bishop can no longer move away, otherwise the queen will simply get captured. Okay. So let's take a look at what happened in the game. Black, obviously not wanting to get pinned, played the move queen to c7, getting out of the pin. However, now Kasparov sacrificed the exchange. And this is a critical position in the game, where he played the move, rook, from d1, takes on d5. Now, why did Kasparov play this move? Well, I challenge you to pause the video and try and find as many potential reasons. Obviously this is a good move, that's the reason I'm showing it to you, but try and figure out why he played this move. Feel free to pause the video and come back in a bit. Okay, so there are quite a few reasons, and if you got, any of these right, then I'd give yourself a pat on the back, because chess is not an easy game, and even just the fact that you're watching this video showcases that, you're really interested in improving your chess, and I commend you for that. Or, I don't know, good job on that, is what I'm trying to say here. My English is not the best. Okay, so after e takes d5, you'll notice that we've gotten rid of a rook, and in exchange we got a bishop. But we also got a lot of other things. To begin with, Black's pawns are socially distanced, which is very responsible from Black's army. However, in chess it's not so good, because obviously these pawns are now all isolated and cannot help one another out. For example, these 3 pawns are beautiful. They're the best buddies ever, They can support one another and essentially, help each other out, make a pawn chain, for example. Whereas these pawns on Black's end can't do the same thing. So not very good. We also got a really nice bishop. you'll notice that this diagonal, all these light squares, are all ours to play with. Black simply just can't contest them very well. Before, this bishop was a very strong bishop, what some Twitch chat pepegas might call a wooden shield. So getting rid of that bishop and in change, getting a really strong bishop ourselves is absolutely worth it. Furthermore, it also lets us bring this rook, which wasn't really doing much here, just guarding this pawn, without a lot of scope, activated into a very nice, file that's going to be open very soon. So let's take a look at what happened in the game. We had knight to e3, attacking both of black's weaknesses, and black already has some trouble defending. Some casual move like queen, for example, to d7 could easily get punished with some sort of infiltration. Maybe we simply bring our rook in, and this pawn isn't, you can't even defend it further, really. Something like rook here, we can just already capture. So these pawns are not going to be easy to defend, so Gurevich simply just played the move bishop to f6, trying to activate his bishop. But already he's running into some trouble. So for example, a move like knight takes here on d5, attacking both the queen and the bishop, is already leading to a great bit of trouble. So let's try and, explore some variations from here in case you don't believe me. Let's say that black moved up, he wants to guard his bishop this way. Well, already there are a lot of potential tactics. As Bobby Fischer, another great world champion, once said, tactics flow from superior positions. A move, for example, in this position, like knight to d4, would be quite nice. Black might, try and capture, but obviously this would be a blunder. You see it? Knight to e7, opening up the bishop with an attack on the queen, and also checking the king and attacking the queen with the knight as well. An excellent move, and a really easy one, hopefully, to find as a tactic. Furthermore, just our pieces are much better, even if we're down some material. I think you'd agree that these two beautiful knights in the center are worth far more than this rook or this rook, which isn't really doing much at the moment, right? So yeah, I hope that was a nice example to kind of get started. Let's take a look at another one from Anatoly Karpov, who was another excellent world champion, versus Bent Larsen, another strong grandmaster. So we'll hop into the game right after move 13, rook a to d8, queen to e2, obviously going after the pawn, rook from f to e8, obviously defending, and rook f to e1, just piling up on the pawn, saying, maybe someday I'll have something here. Knight all the way back to f8 by Bent Larsen. Why? Well, for the same reasons as we discussed previously. This knight, you might notice, if you're a good recognizer of patterns, doesn't have very many squares to hop to. So going back like this and, getting ready to come out is something quite powerful in the position. Now, there's a few possible moves in this position, and I'll essentially tell you the threat. The threat is that, black is going to attack this pawn a million times, and we're going to lose it. Now, here are some potential moves that you might want to play to defend them. I'll draw them out, and then you can pause the video and decide which one you like the most. Let's see. Why don't we get this rook in? So feel free to pause the video here, decide which of these colors you like the best, and come back afterwards. Okay, so hopefully you disregarded the move c3 immediately. The reason being that obviously it just drops this pawn, and now we're down a pawn. Sad. Okay, the other move, let's say rook to d1, it's okay. It does defend this pawn for the time being. It moves off this other file that we were on, and maybe it would have been better to bring this rook over, so not so good. Queen here to e3 is actually probably completely fine. However, it does create this sort of pin against our queen, which I personally don't like. And in some alternate reality, black might actually be able to, whoops, the light just turned off. I'll be right back. Or maybe this can just be edited out. Where are the lights out? Okay. Starting now. Hopefully that was all edited out. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the lights went out at the end of that. And I kind of had to go and figure out how to get them back on. But we're okay now. So, where were we? Right. Queen to e3 is potentially completely okay, but I'm just afraid of this pin, and I don't want to get queen traded off later. In the game, Karpov played the best move, queen to c4. Now, the reason that this is such a good move is, quite obviously, because we're anticipating that black will play knight to e6, which he did. And now Karpov had an opportunity, and he absolutely jumped the gun on it, right? He sacrificed the exchange, giving up his rook, which once again is worth 5, for a knight. Playing rook takes on e6, and after his opponent, Larsen, recaptured, Karpov simply took here on e6, and now, as you can see, a few things have changed in the position. To begin with, there is an isolated king's pawn here, right? As you can see, this pawn is once again socially distanced from his other friends, meaning that they can't support him. After the next move that happened in the game, rook to e1, this pawn is already going to require some babysitting, right? For the rest of the game, it's not going to be a very, very strong pawn. Furthermore, this rook, which was not doing anything, now has a nice job. It's very, very active, and we obviously get to keep a nice, strong pawn that we really like. Also, as you can see, there's a lot of other compensation in the position as well. We have dreams of getting our knight all the way over here to f7, which would probably lead to a nice mating attack, maybe even some smothered mates and whatnot. So Karpov went on to win this game, and it was largely in part due to the exchange sacrifice, creating a variety of weaknesses in black's position and activating white's pieces. Okay, take a look at one last example, and this one was actually between my student and another 1600 rated opponent on Lichess. So let's take a look at what happened in the game. We had rook a to c1, attacking. Right now it's currently defended, but my student obviously still had a very, very good idea. He wants to activate his rook onto a nice long file. Knight to g4, hitting the bishop. Not so good. It simply only gives us what we exactly wanted. Bishop to f4, very good move, taking a look at the c7 pawn. And obviously, if black did nothing, let's say black passed, then capturing here would be very, very nice. Or rather, capturing this way would be even nicer, right? We get a fork. So, to defend that, the opponent played the move rook to c8, when we had knight to g3, bishop to e5, trying to trade off bishops, h3, attacking the knight, asking it where do you want to be. His opponent simply captured, queen takes, knight to f6, and rook to c6. I was very happy when I saw this move. It's an excellent rook lift, and this rook is very, very powerful, really controlling a lot of scores in the enemy's position. We had rook to e8, going after this pawn, and now rook takes a6. I would have preferred, personally, to see the move rook from f to c1. I think that doubling up, once again, on this c7 pawn with the queen is a very, very strong idea, and black would already have some trouble defending, I imagine. But, taking this pawn is not the worst thing in the world. However, after queen to d7, black has blundered something terrible. So, once again, pause the video, and after taking a look at all the examples we've seen so far, try and find the best move in this position. Okay, hopefully you got it. The best move in this position is simply rook takes here on f6. And after black recaptures, he's in a lot of trouble, right? Simply after a move like queen to h6, black is getting mated. If black did nothing, let's say black moved his rook and passed, well, there's no way to stop this mate, right? Simply just knight to h5, queen h7, no matter what you do on the next move, I'll play queen h7. I would pre-move this in a game, right? The best defense in this position is something like rook to e5, stopping this knight from coming in. And now, obviously, this exchange sacrifice makes a lot of sense for black because he's no longer getting mated. And if you don't get mated, then you might win, which is good. However, that's, can also be foiled by white, for example. A simple move like f4, attacking this rook, and covering all the scores that the rook could have possibly gone to, means that after the rook moves back, once again, this mate is unstoppable, right? So this last example was obviously only from a 1600 game, but once again, I hope illustrates the fact that you don't have to be a master to sacrifice the exchange. You can do it in your games as well, and I challenge you to go and sacrifice the exchange a couple of times. Feel free to send me the games. If you join through the link for the Discord, the Morphe Chess Club, we're a very, very large active server with over 1,000 members, free lectures every single weekend, etc. It's a great server. Please join it. You can send them to me. I'm Saltychess on there. and I'll be more than happy to take a look at those games and, maybe give you some feedback. So, once again, I do recommend that you go and play those games. Why? And, sacrifice those exchanges, because not only will they make you a better overall player, but they will also improve your attacking skills, because when you're down material, you'll be forced to attack, right? Secondly, they'll make you into a more dynamic player. You're now going to have an entire kind of ocean of new potential ideas, right, that are coming into your brain. With this simple motif that you have learned of an exchange sacrifice, an entire world of chess kind of opens up to you. For example, you might have never considered this move before this lecture, right? You might have never considered taking here on f6. You might have been like, well, my rook is nice. This knight is only worth 3. I'm never going to give it up for that. But even in your games, these kind of possibilities do exist, and I encourage you to go and find them. Yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed today's lecture. Once again, I am Saltychess. I'm rated approximately 2000 on Lichess, and I'm more than happy to be your friend if you do decide to join the Discord. Furthermore, I also do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/saltychess. Feel free to check me out over there. And if you want to add me on Lichess, I go by Grandmaster_by the way. All these links should be in the description, so feel free to find them over there. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.